And I think we kind of agreed to work together, but it just didn't really turn out that way because of Zombie Game.
Yeah, that was really annoying. Like in my first Vox, they asked me who I wanted to work with, and I said India or Charlotte. And then before every game, Indy would like give me a little debrief of what she thought the game was because we were always next to each other. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. But then when the game started, it was either on different teams or things just didn't work out. It was so annoying.
It never made sense really to work together, given the games, but it would have been good fun.
I was really hopeful that after Heist Game, like when I formed the group of 6, or when we formed that group, I was really hopeful that once we get that group formed, that the 6 of us, and I know Indy and Amantha, you were probably the 2 most keen not to keep, and Ken I think as well, not to keep one alliance and keep it going throughout the show. But I was like, we've got a group of 6 here. If we get rid of one of them, Paul, then it's just, we pick them off one by one. Alison, Ken, Bedalia. I think it was a shame that didn't sort of last a bit longer into episode 2.
Yeah, my whole philosophy was I wanted to work with everyone, and I didn't want to create an alliance because it just went against how I play games, and I don't like shutting anyone out of a game. And if we just created that alliance, we'd just be shutting out like half the group. And I really just wanted to kind of stick true to the way I feel about games. So that really affected how I worked with people and how I chose who to work with on each day. It was always like, we could just form a super alliance. That's why I didn't really there were a lot of pitches to form like a super alliance of people who were just doing well in games, and I was just like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna just gonna keep working with everyone.
You seem to have good conversations with everybody at one point or another, because we had a couple, but I wasn't working closely with you at any point. But we had a couple of
in terms of like outside of game conversations and sort of in-game conversations that didn't actually matter. Me and Alison had quite a long time together on day 2, and then I had a lot of time talking Bex about like our secrets and stuff. And then me and Bedalia, once Bedalia was on the secret, so that was why that group. That's what people miss in Sapphira Game, is that started. The seeds for our Sapphira Game team was started on day 2. Really, it was like all the people I was talking a lot with on day 2, and then I was having a lot of conversations with Charlotte, but we were rivals. we were absolute like. It was like constantly.
I offered an olive branch to you, and you didn't take it.
That was the thing. I just couldn't take it at that stage. I think it was because of Codebreakers. I think after Codebreakers, it was just like we were just not on the same side because of who you had allied with, rather than because you had allied with Ben, who had targeted me. It just became like that was kind of the split where it became really hard for us to team up.
Yeah, the other person I think that I'd love to work with is Ben. I know Ben said to me in the final episode, like, I just think like the 2 of us playing the way we were very similar in our gameplay in terms of like just go all out, and the strategy is to win no matter what. And if we'd sort of formed that alliance early on, it'd been interesting to see how far it would have gone before it would have ended in tears, absolutely, but it'd have been a good death match.
Yeah, it's always interesting.
I agree.
Do you want to go with someone who's similar, or do you want to go with someone who has actually the opposite mindset? Because that's what was the symbiosis between me and Bedalia, actually, was that we had completely different skill sets, and we kind of met in the middle and were able to fill what the other one couldn't do.
I think for me and Scott...
What's that?
Can I use your brain? Sorry, carry on.
No. I was just going to say, I think for Scott and me, like, we either needed to be allies or we were 100% enemies and we had to get the other person eliminated. But actually, if I could go back and work with someone from the very beginning, it would be Scott, because I think we approached the game very similarly. But I wonder, Scott, like, would you have been really, like, how loyal would you have been to the people that you had made your alliance with in the very beginning?
Yeah, I think and it was one of my gameplay tactics was to loyalty. I still it's you need it in this game, so you can't just betray your closest allies. It looks not only does it look bad if it goes wrong, but it looks bad if it goes right as well. Like, you're putting yourself out there as not just a target already because you're vocal. Who have we lost? We lost Amanfi.
Amanfi.
Oh.
He says goodbye.
He doesn't like
Bye,
what I'm saying.
Got Wi-Fi problems.
Yeah. Yes, I think for me it was always like I want to form a group, and then whoever I'm working with, I work with that person. Or if I form an alliance at the start of a game, I didn't want to betray anyone that I was working with. So I think if we had worked together, I would have been loyal to that and sort of made sure that sticked. I wouldn't have tried to stab you in the back or go behind you. Because again, it's not really how I like to play games, unless it's a role I've got to play where I have to stab people in the back like a Manfi did in Zombie, or like any other hidden role game. I think for me it was just sort of I would have defended my alliances like I did with Charlotte, or tried to do in Zombie game, but Charlotte left me hanging.
I would have stabbed anyone in the back except Indy. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
Everyone except Indy.
Wow.
I've got a question for Scott, actually. Because Paul and Pasha are not here. You're the person, not rubbing your nose in it, but you're the one that went out first. So
I'm the biggest loser. That's fine.
But when you watched it, what were the big revelations for you? What were the one or two things that made you go, "Oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting that," or
the rest of the show?
Yeah. Oh, what do I think? I tell you what, from when I went out in the show to when obviously after I found out, like for me, Ben's role in the show and how big Ben was as like a strong character wasn't immediately clear in the first two games.
No,
so, like,
for me, I didn't expect it.
So when we came back for the final episode and I realised Ben got to the semi-final and we'd been talking about things, I was like, I started to realise how big Ben had been in the game, and like Codebreaker was sort of put to me. But even then, until I watched episode 4, Codebreaker. Can't remember which episode it was. Three. Until I watched that episode, I was like, okay. Like I now see how strong, like not Ben's strategy was, but how like prepared he was to go outside the box of the normal gameplay, and just in dictate a game. So I was like, that surprised me. It shouldn't have surprised me, but it from games 1 and 2, and again, it's a downside to not really getting enough time to get to know the cast members fully outside of gameplay. And you're only sort of like 10-minute, 15-minute rounds. But I think that was one of the things that sort of surprised me when I was watching it in gameplay. But yeah, I can't really think of any big moments particularly that shocks me. I mean, without rubbing it in or making Bex feel any worse than what she does, about the leaving the diamond in the safe. I think that was one that.
Do you know what the craziest thing about that is? It was literally only 2 weeks ago that it, like, the penny dropped. I'm like, because I'd got it into my head in that room that for some reason, if I kept it in my locker, I would be saved, because the two, and it was only, I texted Ken last week to clarify it, and Ken were like, yeah, it's not what would have happened, and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
And I was literally like 2 weeks ago. It was literally like 2 weeks ago, and I just think that if the cameras hadn't have been there, like if I hadn't been, I would have done everything differently. I was just super aware of that, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's what people can't understand from watching it is just how much pressure is in every moment and how much weight you feel in every single decision. Like not only are you like not want to lose again, but not want to look stupid about losing again.
Well, that's what it was. I thought that's what it was. I thought I was going to look naive, and I really didn't want to look naive.
No, I don't think anyone would use such a harsh word on anything.
I was gonna, what's it called? I'm gonna do like a stream on all of this after and everything. This is gonna come up. But I don't know if there's like a misconception on how I perceive words. But naive is not like, I wouldn't mind to be called naive, and it's really weird because like Ken said the word vulnerable, and I was instantly like, that guy just called me vulnerable. What a dick! Like that was literally my reaction. And apparently he takes the word vulnerable as like it's like a really nice word, and I'm like, in what world? And that's why there was that like I thought me and Ken were on opposite sides because I had just like poured my heart like a little bit to him, and he just called me vulnerable, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna work with this guy. He's so rude. And the same with naive. Like naive to me is like, oh, you can call a baby naive, and no one's mad at babies. Like everyone loves babies.
No.
You know? I'm not saying it's a good word, but like I don't think it's detrimental in that way. And
I see it as, to me, the definition of naive is like easy to manipulate.
Foolish, yeah.
Yeah,
easy
and
to
that
fool.
was, that's probably one like I would probably strongly rebuke that allegation.
Well, the context was interesting because we were being told that the 3 naive players were being like basically, I was picking them and basically they were doing my bidding. That was the kind of context, which I think if you guys had known, but that was because you guys didn't know that actually it was Badale who put the team together, and it was all like part of his pitch really, and it was actually not. It was
in the diamond one.
No, Safari race.
Oh yeah,
Safari race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Badale who pitched this group really, or like was like pitched this alliance, but then suddenly it became me who was the bad guy who like had grabbed all the naive foolish players and they're gonna be strung along, and I think in that context that's why I called it insulting. I don't think it's inherently insulting to be naive, but I think in the context it felt like, oh, it's been pitched that these people don't know what they're doing and they're just kind of going along with what I'm doing, which is like
also like based on I explained this to you as well, but like based on what I had seen, that is what had happened.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because like I had extended my hand to Ken.
Yeah.
And then he had run off with like everyone else. And I was like, okay, well, he just doesn't want to hold my hand. And then what made it worse was that Ben had tried to join your group. And then Ben came back in and was like, yeah, Ken's just kicked me out, because it was Ken that kicked him out. But it was only because like no one else was saying anything, right?
Yeah,
like,
everyone else
that's
wanted.
the interesting thing about perception, though, isn't it? Because I seriously remember that game starting, and in my head, I had it fixed where you and India just ran off, and we were just still stood there. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but that was fixed in my head that we were in the thing, and you and India shot off to player 2 because you thought.
I think that was always going to happen, yeah.
Go, yeah. So then, obviously, when it was like, oh, Ken went the other way, I was like, yeah, because they probably can see it from different spots, but that's how I saw it, is that you two went off, and then there's that weird awkward moment, and then me and Ben stood in the atrium, and I'm like, I hate this bit, and then Ben darted off as well. So, but I just think that's the thing, like we've all got our own eyes, and we're all stood in different positions, and that's how everyone perceives it differently, don't they?
It was a very funny day because suddenly I became like public enemy on your team, but I'd done nothing. I just it was like Badale who put this team together, and I was just like, and everyone's like having a go at me now, and I was the bad guy because I kicked Ben out, but it was the other people who were like, we just want to do this for, and I was like, okay, I'll just say it because it's kind of awkward.
I think a lot of that is my fault because in my mind you were like the big bad for me. And I just like prescribed a lot of intention on your strategy that probably didn't actually exist, because in my mind it was like you controlling everything and I had to take you down.
Yeah. And it was like also everything seemed way more calculated than it was. It was calculated from a very different point of view. Like all the calculations were complete, like, and it probably felt like we were also like, I was also excluding the 3 of you as well, and I think that also played into it. But it was just kind of like, oh, Badale came to me first, and we've agreed to do this, and we're going to do it. And
did everyone feel excluded? I'm curious because I went to Ken and said, like, I want to win today because I was just so fed up of everything, the death match before. And I said, and I think Ken, you weren't on the right side of Ben and Charlotte at this point, were you? Is that right?
Ben, because of the code breakers, but me and Charlotte were like kind of.
Oh, fine.
We're fine until
you
this
called me
day.
vulnerable.
Until I called her vulnerable. We should talk about that.
I had this opinion that Ken had a bit of gelling to do with more of the group. So my proposition to Ken was like, look, Ken, you need a bit more gelling with the group. I can facilitate that a little bit. Ken, like, would you help me help facilitate my win?
Yeah.
And Ken was like, yeah, I just want to have a good game. I don't mind if you win. I was like, Ken, I'll give you the token of life. He's like, no, I don't even want it. Ken didn't even want the token of life. He's very happy.
Give it to Max every
time.
time.
I went round to everyone and said, I want the elephant and the lion. And to me, that felt like quite a bold move. And I felt a bit kind of in everyone's face doing that. Did it feel overpowering? Because I'm quite curious. Ed hasn't even shown it.
Wait, did you feel overpowering?
I felt like I just went into everyone's room and said, I'm going elephant and lion. If you go for the same, then you're not going to be on my side.
Charlotte was going around with big dick energy that game. He was running around.
He just walked into the room with us three and was just like, yeah, these are what I'm doing. I can't tell you what the others are doing, but this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, thank you.
Warpath. I loved it. It was just on a warpath, and then I'm the secret mastermind.
I mean, it was smart though, like, because then I was incentivized to help you as well because I tied our animals.
Yeah, that's the thing. Charlotte picked one of your animals, so she was always incentivized to help you. And I felt like you were going to save me if we were last. So then I was incentivized to help you. So then, like, that's how Indy was in this position where her two closest allies were actually not helping her, which is really how you, like, that's a terrible position to be in. But we were, like, fighting for our own survival.
Did you believe at that point that Badali would save you?
I did. I felt like if he had to choose between me and Indy, he would save me. And that's why I was happy for him to win and end the game as fast as possible while I was still tied with Indy. And I feel bad about it, but
if you had to make that decision, go for it, Indy.
Thank you. I felt like it was very obvious that Badali would choose Ben because Badali, I don't think we'd really worked together up until that point at all. So that's why I was like, felt like there was nothing I could really do because I couldn't even try and talk to you because there was no persuading you.
I've got a question for Ben.
You were in this like quite isolated position, and I also didn't have a reason to want you to be last.
I was just gonna. Can I ask Badali, do you wish you had picked Ben at the end of that game now, after knowing everything that you know? Would you? If knowing everything, would you?
My internet's not working. My internet's not
working. Would you pick Ben? Because I didn't want to hold a grudge against Ben. That was like something I decided. So I could have come to you and said, listen, I've helped run this game. Pick Ben as a thank you. Like, but I didn't want to play like that.
Okay, so if it played out the same again, I would make the same decision I made, and that's because at that point in time, Bex had given me Bex, what have you done for me, Bex? Yeah, but you helped facilitate my win that day. You did.
Yeah, we all worked together. Yeah, we were all helping. Yeah.
You were very much on my side that day. And I just thought, and in terms of like a long-term strategy, it made sense for me to now get enough in Bex's good books and do a bit of making up for Ben. But yeah, if Ken had said to me, look, I want to get you to give it to Ben, that would have been the...
No. I'm saying pick Ben for the death match.
Death match.
Oh.
Because you got to pick Ben or India.
You picked India.
Oh, I would have picked India. Yeah. Sorry, India.
Well, if I said...
Yeah, Ben had helped me earlier on.
But even if Ken had asked you directly to pick Ben, would you have changed your mind?
What is this question?
It's just interesting because I didn't push it, but I could have pushed it. And I could have made a case for it because Ben is a very strong player on stage, and I could have brought up like lots of reasons why you should do that, but I just decided not to influence anyone's decision.
Would have made great TV. Wouldn't it? I think if Ken had, I honestly can't say, in the circumstances are different. I would think to myself, if Ken had like requested that I do it, I would have probably ended up doing it purely because Ken is the man to be on the right side of, as it has shown in the episode.
Blooming, whose dogs are going?
I think it's Alison's.
I just muted Alison, but the dog is still going.
I think
that's now my dog is now barking downstairs as well.
I think Alison was muted.
My dog wasn't barking before. Can you hear that? Is that?
Should I mute Alison again?
No, that was Scott, right?
This one might be me.
Amazing.
No doubt.
Yeah,
Wow.
it does.
What were you going to ask, Bex?
Can I ask a question to Ben? Right, Ben, do you promise, swear down, double dare, crush your heart, to tell the truth for this question I'm going to ask you?
Yeah.
Right, so at the end of Safari, when you said, I would, and India said, and India was like, you were all choosing, and you were like, I would have picked Ken, I would have absolutely picked Ken. There's no way I'd have chosen you, India. Were you lying?
Yes, but only because I would have picked Allison, not Ken. But I would never have picked Indy because it doesn't make sense to choose your allies. And for me, I know that Alliance has changed like day to day, but it really felt like, for whatever reason, that for me, that Safari race like drew a really solid line in the sand. And in my mind, right, like, and we've acknowledged that this isn't the truth, but in my mind, Ken had come in and taken like my closest allies, who were Bedalia and Allison, and like you and I had some friction, but we still worked together the first half of the game. So I felt like Ken had come in and taken my closest allies, and so I felt like at that point the only people I had to work with then was Indy and Charlotte, and there's no way I'm going to go into the death match against one of them, because even if I win, I have fewer people to work with when I come back. And I was too scared to go against Ken, so I would have picked Allison. And I would have been scared to go against Allison as well. And she probably beats me in black or white, but I would have picked Allison.
So you wouldn't have picked Ken, though, because you said in the thing, if Allison wasn't an option, let's remember that, right? So
No,
Allison was an option. What?
If she wasn't.
Well, if Allison wasn't an option, I would have picked either you or Bedalia. You can only save two of you from your team.
You what? Sorry, say that again.
So between you and Bedalia and Allison, only two of you can have a token of life for the Safari race.
No, not if Bex hadn't done what she did.
No, we're not talking about that game.
Safari race.
Sorry.
Let's go.
Dealing with a car alarm. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So right, that's fine.
Yeah,
Basically,
I would have never picked Ken. I was just pretending that I would pick Ken because I wanted Ken to
That was
be
my
scared.
question.
Yeah, because Ken, I felt like Ken thought no one was going to pick him, so he was safe to give you and Bedalia the tokens. But I knew moving forward that was a terrible thing for me.
That was my question. When you were giving it that I'd have chosen Ken, I wanted to know if you were being
As a bluff,
yeah, total bluff.
Yeah. I don't care.
Okay, Ben, I've got a question for you then. So if in the diamond game, if Bex hadn't made herself win, we would have two of you three would have been the death match, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd have still chosen as three winners who would have gone to death match. So I'm guessing it would have been the same. Ben
didn't we pick Ben?
And then we did choose.
You did, but Bex had the final choice. But
I had the final. It was my decision, but it wasn't my decision. So like basically, who would Ben have chose?
Yeah, who would you have chosen? Would you actually?
Yeah, because I wouldn't have picked Charlotte.
Oh man.
Who would you have picked, Charlotte?
So I know Bedalia don't because
we've heard all of this. Ben picked Ken. Ken picked Ben.
And you pick.
I think I pick you, Ken.
Bedalia next final.
Basically, Ken only won because of me.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, for multiple reasons, Bex, because we also tried to target him at the start of Media Moguls, and you wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Social player. Get you a guy who does both. Social player, strategy player.
That's the thing, isn't it? Ken does both.
I've got a question
But
for.
he's low-key social, Ken.
Question for Indy. If Bedalia does pick Ben in Safari Race, and Ben picks Allison as he was going to, and you make it through to the next game, how far do you think you still would? Do you think you'd have got through to potentially the final? How far did you see yourself going beyond that, having now seen what the other games have been since Safari Race?
That's a really interesting question. I hadn't actually, once I was out, I had kind of just been like, that's it. I wasn't kind of mulling over what I would have done, or how far I would have gotten. I would suspect that somehow I would have ended up in a death match against Allison in the next episode or in the episode after. That is just how I would have seen it going. Assuming that like Bex and Bedalia got immunity in certain games. But yeah, so I reckon I would have been up against Alison somehow, and then been out in that episode. And this is a very loose, just feelings based.
Here's a good question. Would anyone here have ever picked Charlotte for a death match at the opportunity? Because it seems like no one has ever said they would have picked Charlotte in this situation, or this situation.
No.
Charlotte just never on anyone's radar for being picked in a death match.
No, shall we talk about who we would have selected?
Yeah.
Amanfi would have. Amanfi was going to
Amanfi
pick Charlotte if Indy didn't lock his case, I think.
He said that after though, and I don't know if that's like completely true. Yeah,
I'm always a bit skeptical of what.
Yeah, I need to
say
hear
after.
it like at the time. Yeah. But also, I wouldn't be surprised because I would have picked Amanfi or Bedalia, and I had been saying that from day 2.
Oh, you would have picked me? No way.
Yeah, you were. I think I said that to you, Bex, when it was us girls in the room, and then we were talking about. I think it was International Women's Day. And we were just saying, I was just saying like, oh yeah, I'd picked 2 guys before the girls, and you were like, which 2 guys? And I was like, Amanfi and Bedalia. Yeah.
I'd have chosen, seeing as though you all asked, I'd have chosen Pasha or Bedalia. No offense.
I'm not offended.
Because me and Bedalia, at the majority of the time, I just found it hilarious that me and Bedalia, every time the rules were being read out, we just kind of side-eyed each other every single time. We were like...
Have you noticed in the edit when they give the rules, there's like me trying to clarify the rules with everyone?
Yeah.
I think it's quite useful for the viewer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're asking the questions that most people probably had.
Yeah.
What's that rule again? And everyone else just going, no, it's this.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. I'm going to have to wrap it up soon, guys, just because
Yeah,
I need to have a shower. And I need to have a shower and a cup of tea, and I've got an early start.
Wait.
You don't want to talk about the game anymore. You've talked about the game too much. We've talked about the game so much in the last 14 months.
Yeah.
There were lots of
Just leave it
sliding
at
door moments, weren't there?
Yeah.
You know, when one thing could have made it go completely differently 2 or 3 episodes down the line.
You can make yourself go crazy though. It's like my favourite, not my favourite. It's my nightmare thought. Every time I have a shower, it pops into my head for some reason about this diamond dilemma. And all year, honestly, it's just the amount of different ways it could have gone is just, and it can actually do your head in and get really frustrated with it and stuff. So try not.
I'd still choose you to work with, Bex.
I know. Me and Alison are going to apply for some shows together, aren't we, Alison?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
This was actually a question I got from someone, but are you guys planning on applying for any other game shows once
I got that question as well.
contract breaks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
1% club.
1%.
Yeah.
That's my game.
Squid Games.
Well,
I want to see Anna again.
Next, do you want to do Limitless Win with me? I think we'll do well.
Me and Charlotte are gonna see Limitless Win get recorded.
Do you think they'll let us play?
I'll do Limitless
Please
with
let us
anyone.
play.
That's probably my forte, that useless information. Like how long does a match take?
Yeah. Oh, I watched an amazing episode of Limitless Win on rerun just before the Genius last week. It was the first question was how many legs are there in the entire original Scooby-Doo gang cast? Well, this is like the easy question. It's like how many pairs of legs are there? No, how many legs are there in the Scooby-Doo gang? Obviously, just 12. But they decide to go safe and they just go 10. I'm like, what are you guys doing? I'm screaming at the thing. I'm screaming at them like it's 12. It's 12 because they just go 10. And then the next question is, what is the millimeter width of a standard roll of sellotape? Like, what is the width in millimeters? Does anyone know?
Is it
1.8
like
maybe?
What? Centimeters?
Oh, millimeters, yeah.
Yeah, 18 mil.
18 mil.
Okay, they go for 25 millimeters. It goes up.
That's too big.
24 millimeters is what it is. They get knocked out immediately by going up by 1. It was like, this is great TV. This is some great drama. It's like, why didn't you bank on the Scooby-Doo question? In fact, they went safe on the Scooby-Doo question and then went so big. It was crazy to me.
Yeah, I love questions like that. I love questions like that.
Standard roll.
What was
think
the
it is
answer,
about-
Ken? What was the answer?
24.
24.
So that's about an inch. 24 is about an inch. Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. But there we go. It's a great show. That's all I watched in the hotel room. Like every day in the hotel room, every day off, I would just watch like 10 episodes of The Limitless Win.
Ken, before I go, when are we doing another like game online thing like we've been doing? Are we doing any more?
I could do more. I could do one more. I think I'm doing a stream, like a charity stream,
That sounds good.
if people want to do it.
Mhm.
Like
Clock
next-
Tower.
Clock Tower.
Right, no,
If-
I've been on about this. I want to play Clock Tower because
That's-
apparently people in Discord say that I should play it.
Do it. Let's do a Clock Tower stream, and it will be some of you and then some people I grab from. I'll try and grab as many Traitors Cast members I know. I'll try and grab as many I'll try and get Alex McMillan and Alex Franklin as well. I'll try and get everyone kind of from the genius tangential sphere, and we'll do a charity stream. We'll raise so much money.
We need at least 2 people from Love Island, Ken.
Okay,
Get your-
I'll get them. I got
get your
so many
contact.
Love Island connections.
Right,
I know
guys,
what Love Island is.
enjoy the rest of the evening. Right, what do I have to do, Benjamin? I don't want to do anything wrong.
So I think you can leave, but then you just keep the tab open until it says complete.
Okay,
Complete.
right. Enjoy, guys. Speak to you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm off as well.
Oh,
Bye,
actually, let me get a
everybody.
picture before
Bye.
we all go.
Oh
Wait,
wait,
can
yeah,
you
no.
all smile? Can you all smile? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Right, bye,
Wait,
guys.
before you go, Bex, one
Oh, yeah.
more.
One for the gram.
This is day 2 of attempting to convince Ken to give me the win.
You're not doing a good job. You're not doing a great job. I'll say that much.
We'll
You do,
see.
Bye,
Guys,
guys.
I'm-
Bye.
Hi.
Bye.
I'm gonna
Open
bounce, so I need to eat
upload.
dinner.
Oh,
Bye,
see you.
Alison.
I'm off.
Where's the
I'm
leave
starving.
bottom next to like.
Bye,
leave
guys.
studio.
Thank you, Ben,
Thanks
for
for
hosting
joining,
this,
Indy.
by the way. Thank you for hosting. It's been good fun.
See you soon. Bye.
Alison.
Bye, Allison.
Bye.
I'm still in, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
the-
think
Yeah,
you can press
yeah,
leave
yeah.
studio.
Oh, okay,
Big
got
red X.
gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
big red X.
Just
Bye.
waiting on India just saying some absolute horrible shit about all of this there with her.
Here we go. Just the final bunch. Let's
Oh, I
now
don't
talk
deserve to be
shit.
here. This is the top
Talk
4.
shit.
I don't deserve to be in amongst this.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
What's happening then?
That's
Allison's only at 48%, and she's not
She's-
still
she's-
uploading.
she stopped. Well, we can tell her to.
It's okay. I have a link I can send her.
Yeah.
So I think the most recent question that was asked, gameplay-wise, was if you could choose someone else for your deathmatch, who would it have been and why? So I think for me, let's assume no one's immune in zombie game.
Yeah.
If I going into it, who I wanted to pick probably would have been Pasha, then Bex, then probably Ben/Allison. But again, I think at this point I was still underestimating Ben.
Yeah.
And I think I'd have been in for a shock when I got into hidden knots and crosses. But I think I wanted to pick people who were not on my team in game 1.
That makes sense.
Or who were potentially.
I wasn't on your team in game 1.
Yeah, I really wanted to work with you, Bedalia. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was like, you're the one player I want to like. In obviously zombie game, I think that's why we both in the start of zombie game.
You
I
came
think
up
those two
to
were
me
the
at the
first
start of
two.
the game, actually, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all worked together. The three of us, we had a tight thing, and then Charlotte came in, and so it was like, I'm a
Charlotte
zombie.
came ruined it.
I told
But
I told the truth.
Yeah,
You
we
did
were
tell
fucked anyway. I pitched a strategy that just was never going to work, and they didn't show any of that. But like, actually, that was quite an interesting day because I basically pitched a strategy for us three, and it just didn't work at all.
Yeah.
And we were just like nowhere.
Yeah, and I think what had thrown me is that I thought we were the only people that knew that Charlotte was the zombie. It was us
Yeah,
three and
but everyone
Charlotte.
did. Everyone
And
did.
everyone did. And everyone was already
It's
talking
not
about it
actually
outside.
everyone did. I think that's like the misconception because I was still trying to play. Okay, something else I'm also going to bring up, but I think the part that really fucked me over was when production didn't stop people from talking when you were picking the cards, because I just clearly
100%.
remember Ben saying, "Remember what's on your card," and I'm just like, well, I can't tell you what's on the human card because they didn't show me a human card, you know? Like, so I had bumbled a little bit, and then at that point I was like, well, Ben probably knows that I've bumbled that because I just realized that I've bumbled that. So I just need to tell them because, and I can just try and that's why you see me trying to go for a win regardless. I was like, can I still touch you? And you know, and then Ben was like, no, that doesn't help us, which is fine, fair. And then I was like, what else can I do? I'm gonna go and infiltrate the other group and not tell them that I've told Ben and Indy, but I didn't tell Basher. I didn't tell Bex, but it was more like I would lie in public. But if someone had asked me like separately from your little group of 4 already, or your group of 3, then it made no difference because Ben and Indy knowing is basically the same as Basher and Bex knowing as well. Like it didn't make a difference.
Like
But I just had to make sure.
No.
Yeah, just not to say it out loud. Alison also didn't, but Alison also thought that Amanfi wasn't a zombie as well. So
yeah, and everyone thought Alison was. I think Alison thought Alison was a zombie.
She played some wild. I was in a room with her for like 10 minutes just trying to work out what was going on, and she was just working along with me. But she was just like, she didn't tell me anything. So I was like, we just kind of hit a dead end. It was quite a nice chat, but she just completely lied to me.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately why I think I chose Alison for the deathmatch in that game, because I felt like I didn't know what she was doing, but I don't think she knew what she was doing. And it just felt, I think, of all the people who I can pick from, like, to me, it was sort of like, I'm not picking Charlotte or Ken. Like, we're close with Ken already.
Yeah.
And Charlotte in game 1.
Or Amanfi Badali or...
Yeah, Amanfi Badali or Alison. I thought,
not much choice.
Yeah, and Badali was the one that I thought I wanted to... I could see having a long-term like friendship, like alliance with. Like I could see a full, like I predicted somewhat, probably a bit too late, that Charlotte would go for herself at some point and easily betray me if I had to. And I thought Ken would be probably a strong opponent to get rid of at some point. So I'd have to turn on Ken at some point. So I thought Bedalia is someone I can like ally up with and take a long way in the game. So I was aiming to do that, and also with Amanfi in the end, I thought Amanfi's clearly such a wild game player that he's just a good deflector. I can just let him loose in the game and he takes all the heat. So I thought all I wanted to do was extract that Garnet out of Amanfi, but I had no intention of picking him. And then just once the alliance was formed and the game was going, I was fairly certain I was picking Alison from the get-go from that group. But if I could have picked the immune group, I think I'd have gone Pasha, then Bex, then probably Ben, then Indy, in that order, I think.
Interesting. We talk a lot about underestimating Ben. I think a lot of people did. Is there anyone you thought would be a bigger presence than they were? Walking into that atrium when there's 11 of us. Who do you think, because I haven't answered it, who do you think would be just the main character of this group?
I thought Scott.
Yeah, I probably thought me as well, to be honest. I was good with main character energy.
When you went out, Scott, I was genuinely like, I could not believe it. Genuinely, because I thought you were like this. I mean, you could still be like. There's so many ways of measuring like your skill in this game, but in terms of your ability to come up with a strategy and vocalize it, you were quick.
Big main character energy.
Yeah, I think I just cracked in the deathmatch, which is the sad thing that it just sort of once it got to me, and it was just I didn't have a second round to sort of compose and come back into it like some other games or like where you can reset. I think that's what just kind of...
Once you lose memory, you're out. Once you lose a memory game, you've lost a memory game. You can't come back in a memory game. I'm so glad I didn't do a memory game because I think my memory is pretty good. But if you crack, you crack. It's really scary.
I would have just started shouting words at you.
I honestly, it crossed my mind in that deathmatch to like as soon as I knew I'd lost where I was going with it, and I was going to have to start like playing a sort of, I thought, do I do this in a sort of war of attrition and just start chaotically moving Alison's pieces around, knowing where she's building from, and just play it the long game and just annoy Alison to the point of where we just start moving the same piece back and forth. And I thought if we do that, it's just going to get to a point where production come in and say you have to stop just moving that same piece. Someone has to move something different. And I just thought,
so boring. We would have been annoyed. We wanted to go home. We wanted to go back to the hotel room. We would have, even if you won that, we'd be like, "Fuck off."
I
would have respected that. I think that's really good, and you should have done that.
I didn't want to be that guy I thought, if I lose on merit because Alison has remembered this better than I have, then I can accept that. But I thought I don't want to be the guy who goes out scrambling and dragging and just nails in and just not letting go and just still losing. But I think I still would have lost the game. I think it's once you start playing that way. Alison wasn't the type of person to just sort of not see where that's going and not see that counter and just like not see through the bullshit. So I think it would have just ended and still I'd have lost. But I think it just looked a lot worse for it.
They wouldn't have shown the whole thing.
No, it could have worked out for you because you could have maybe not done that switch so many times. The edit edit might have just cut out like 5 of them.
What was your answer, Ken?
I thought Badale would be the main character because he came in with the one word thing, and I was like, okay, this guy is going to be the leader.
What was that one word thing? I can't remember.
When you asked everyone to say one word that their friends would describe themselves as.
Oh right, okay.
I was like, okay, this guy's the main character. He's a doctor, he's a DJ, he's an influencer, he's everything.
You didn't know any of that stuff at that point, surely.
Huh?
No,
you said you were
a Dr. DJ. I think.
And you said that too.
My plan was not to reveal that, but I kind of had to because Pasha and I already knew each other.
You said you knew each other from Instagram.
Derailed my strategy,
yeah.
I think I thought as well, similar that Badale would be a big player, but I also thought the type of person that asks those questions to open a group is very much a social player. Like someone who's, I want to get to know players. I want to get to know what people think of themselves. And so it's like he's confident enough to open up and like be talkative and gain information about people, which probably isn't one of my strengths. So I was like, that's why I was like, I want to work with Badale at some point because we could complement each other. Whereas I saw someone like Paul and to an extent Ben as well were sort of almost loud, like loud's probably the wrong word. It's like I could see there being clashes with those two. So if I need to go with a different group.
I was also thought India would be a really dominant player because of the poker background, and we also walked in together. I think she came in the top. I was in the top, or she was in the bottom, or one way around, and one of those. But we went into I think we went in from the dressing rooms bit to the studio bit together. I was like, that was the first person I saw. I was like, whoa,
oh,
shit.
Really?
Yeah, she was the first person I saw. I was like, okay, this is not how I imagine anyone looking in this kind of show. I just like, okay, she seems very on it. I was just like, and then when she said she played poker, okay, I was like, she's going to be really a massive, massive player.
Yeah,
I didn't see anybody.
Me either.
You went on your own. You went on your own as well.
Yeah.
I saw Paul walking ahead of me.
We just happened to be walking the door, and she was chewing gum, and they told her to take a gum out and put it in the bin. So she had to take a gum out. And I was like, okay, you just don't give a shit. You just don't give a shit. She seems so cool. She seems so aloof as well. But obviously, we weren't allowed to talk to each other. So that was part of it. So I was like, oh shit, okay, here's someone. And then also because she's really young, I just assumed everyone else would be really young as well. I thought I'd be one of the older ones.
I think I probably thought similar of India. I think because she, for someone so young, she's so assured and like so confident within a big group. It was like it was almost like, wow, okay, she's prepared to, put herself forward and back herself on this. And I thought like and to be fair, I think she did. And I think her strategy of bluffing her ability,
it worked.
I think she probably underestimated her own ability to an extent as well. But I think she definitely bluffed like big time. That's why I think in Zombie Game, I say I would have put her above Ben in terms of people I was afraid to go into a deathmatch against from that group. I think I'd have put India above Ben.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. Your first impressions of people, like, yeah, that first game where we were in the six, the first impressions were like crazy. It's like, oh shit, everyone's doing stuff. It was so interesting seeing how people were in that six. When we're deciding to send Paul to jail, it was like, okay, I'm getting so much information, but it actually didn't really reflect, I think, how people play necessarily. But everyone's on guard. But it was like, okay, everyone seems really scary. It was like India, and Manfi were like the scary ones. It was like you're leading a lot of the kind of discussion.
Yeah, I don't think I was very much on guard or hidden very much.
No.
I think I was just very open with.
Yeah, you were.
I took no approach to try and hide my. And that's partly the strategy, to try and scare people into like seeing, oh, let's not like go against him at some point. But I think in episode 1, whenever we did our Vox, it was always, they kept asking me, who's your, if you'd pick 3 players who you think are the most intimidating or have the most potential in the game, unanimously every single time it was Ken, Charlotte, India were my 3.
Those are my 3 as well.
Yeah, even though Ken and Charlotte neither of you had really done or said much in episode 1, it just like I could sense, even when we're having a conversation, when Charlotte put herself forward for the crown.
It's because we're Chinese.
I wasn't going to say that.
I walked in.
People putting me and a lot of people me and Charlotte.
I walked in and just racially profiled everybody.
Yeah,
it was just like, oh yeah. The two Chinese, they're the smartest ones. And Ben's the gay one who's going to be dramatic.
It's been proven.
That's how it played out, guys.
Yeah, can't argue against racial profiling.
Exactly.
Can't argue against stereotypes, guys.
But yeah, I just thought it was quite interesting to see like how the first impressions and I think you guys first impressions probably did pay off quite well. But I think it's underestimated Ben and Alison to an extent.
I think everyone underestimated because she's so unassuming when she's talking about the game in the main match and stuff, and she doesn't give that much away. And then bam, and she was also talking her skills down a lot. Like she was one of the players who was like, okay, my memory's not that good, my blah 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 not that good, and then suddenly she's in that deathmatch, she just figures it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think of all the people, like in terms of deathmatch strategy, she's undoubtedly like the queen of the deathmatch. Like even as much as we can think her deathmatch black and white against Indy was somewhat luck, it's almost 50-50, but there were some calls where she read Indy quite well, and like very early on that first couple of moves where she went middle in the first and then low 0 on the second to get into just draw out Indy's high piece. It was sort of like she preempted where Indy was going to go with some of those early moves, which sort of paid off in the end. And even the second last move, she knew that Indy would go, or she kind of suspected Indy would go big on one and small on the other, and she counteracted that, which
interesting.
Yeah, I think it was definitely good play. And her strategy in Ben's deathmatch, I know both you and Alison had a very similar approach, or you would have had a similar approach if you went second in that deathmatch, but it caught me off guard because I hadn't thought of that, and there was obviously not much time to think about it that you guys would have, and I didn't.
We had a lot longer.
Even if I'd had it, I'm not sure I would have instantly thought to just copy and let that other player shoot himself in the foot. So it was a very clever strategy to come up with in just such a crucial moment. And I think she just got a bit unlucky and losing a bit of the memory at one point again in that game. But yeah, deathmatch ability was unmatched, I think, from Alison.
Yeah. What two final pairing of players do you think would have been very interesting had we not had this one? Who would you like to see? 2 players in the final, which would have been very like.
I think any of you 3, Ken, Ben, Charlotte. I think any combination of you 3 was always going to be sort of blocked. I think you were the 3 deserved finalists to be in that final 2. Sorry,
did I hear this right?
Is Bedalia still here? But in terms of like, I honestly, I think Bedalia in that final, if you'd been in the final, would have been still some great TV. You'd have made it so entertaining. And
Is there any universe where that may have been possible?
If you drop the garnet.
Yeah. No. There's also another way because the round before you have a 2 and a 5. You have a 2 and a 5 open, and you decide to just call 5. But if you had called 2, then probably no one would have blocked you, and then you end up rolling a 5 next time, so you automatically won. So if you had called 2 the previous round, you would have just won on the 5.
Why are you telling me this?
For me, it was always I could see you guys every time you got to bluff and block someone, you'd always reveal the 10, which is the obvious. It's the least statistical likelihood to.
And I also believe if I'd made it into the final, I'm sure a social death match would have followed me into the final as well. I'm sure it would have.
I wish.
Rock paper scissors comes back out.
Rock paper scissors.
Even in the main match with Dahlia, I think in main match you could have, and you had a good chance to win that in that round in second.
We thought you were gonna win. Like you had it in the.
Honestly, in the ice time, I went for a wee in the break. And I was like, I've won this. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, don't mess up. And then I misread my numbers as well.
We also genuinely believe we couldn't win until I think we
counted the rounds wrong.
I did the math. Yeah, I looked at the thing. I was like, wait, we can win this, guys. And I was like, okay, let's talk to Vidalia.
Had Vidalia gone the opposite way around on the 2 that he did, if he went low on one of them and big on the other one.
Yeah, if he goes high in the other 3, if he goes high in any of the ones where
any of the other 3,
we just can't catch up. We just can't.
I had enough money left to do that.
Yeah, you did. You had 2,000. You had 2,000 pounds.
Everything into the other one, I would have been fine.
Yeah, but that's the one that no one else put anything in. So
because you listened to Ken.
Ken, man.
Yeah, but I didn't realize you still actually have £1,000 left over.
I said £1,000.
Yeah, you still had £1,000 left over. We couldn't do anything.
I think I would have, if thinking in that position, just sort of like go all in on 2.
Yeah, two's enough.
You think they're going to block them on, and you win that game, and it's. But obviously, hindsight, it's very easy.
That would have
been
that would have been a spicy dice deception
death match.
That would have been horrific. I don't know what would happen. I don't know.
That would have been probably the best, the most entertaining. I mean, to be fair, the death match that actually happened.
That would be the real final.
Wow, Charlotte.
Oh,
Charlotte.
Okay, but to be fair, people always comment on Ben's videos like, "Oh, I wish there was like a three-player final or something." You know, like they're like, 3-player final would be interesting.
3-player final would have been interesting.
It doesn't
if
work.
you could have done like a round robin of death matches, like Ken plays Ben, Ken plays. In a sort of, you play 3 different death matches against.
Like for 2 days straight.
You could do a 3-player where one gets eliminated and then you play a 2-player final. That's one way of doing it. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to design.
There are 3-way death matches, like in Game of Blood, Bloody Game. It's possible to do 3-way death matches that aren't so interdependent. Like where you're actually independent of the other players, and it's purely down to you. And I do think there's something nice about that, because it didn't necessarily happen in our case, but I think it would kind of suck to get eliminated in that very last death match just because of a kingmaker situation. I think it's easier to go out when you go out because your own brain didn't work as well as someone else's.
Yeah.
Oh, there's something I actually do want to ask, because Ken and I were talking about it. But at that final moment, but you didn't realize you were king making at the time, right? Like,
no.
But would you have still picked me, or would you pick Ben at the end?
I'd pick Ben.
I told you, Ken.
I disagree. I disagree.
No, I told you why.
I think in the moment.
Disagree?
No,
I think watching it, Vidalia was swayed by Charlotte's.
No, I wasn't.
No. You had.
I honestly wasn't.
No.
I said at the very beginning of the game that like I'm Team Ben here. I've worked with Ben throughout, and Charlotte, like you're playing. I was just trying to stay in your good books because I realized that I needed to get as far. Like I was close to winning. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my best to lie here.
He was doing that with Charlotte to get in a better spot to win for himself. If he was ever in the kingmaker position, he was always going to pick me.
Okay, let's say then, let's flip it then. Let's say Bedalia abstains in that round, blocks Charlotte, and then in the next round, both Bedalia and Ben decide to go for it and bluff.
I pick Ben to win. I pick Ben to win.
You're Ben to win.
I pick Ben
And
to
this
win.
is why
What I
it was so
imagine
frustrating.
happening, like what I had thought was going to happen was that if this is what I was writing to you, Bedalia. If Bedalia doesn't light up there and I light up, he blocks me. If Ben lights up, I assume, but I mean, I might be wrong as well, because like I assume Ben knows that he's going to either force me to pick or he will end up picking, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you had lit up Ben, I would have blocked you, and then I would have tried to work with you to convince Bedalia to not light his up on his turn order round.
Despite the fact there's no bluff tokens left available,
There's no bluff tokens left. I feel like I would just be like, yeah, I don't think we should bluff this round. Like just something like that. Like I would just be like, how fun would it be? You know, like something stupid, like chatting out my ass and just I was like, shall we roll and blindfold ourselves and not?
So funny.
Do you think Bedalia would have gone for it?
I was that close to winning. It looks like I was that close to winning. I don't actually think I was as close as it kind of.
I also think so as well. I think there was like a quite a little bit of time, because I was very confident when I said.
Yeah, because I think you dropped it because she said time's up.
Yeah.
I think you reacted.
Yeah, I agree. And also Ben wasn't really giving me clear signals at this point. I was like, because Ben in some ways wasn't. He was just like looking, like staring at me. I was like, Ben, give me something. What do I do here? Like, this is my chance to win. And you just, like,
I told you to drop it.
If you dropped it at the start of that round, it plays so differently.
Ben would have won.
Oh yeah, Ben wins. Yeah, Ben wins. It is such a.
I wasn't expecting you to light up, Bedalia. That's why.
That's
why I
lit
lit
what
up.
Threw me.
Yeah.
I thought if Bedalia, knowing that Charlotte's lit up, Bedalia can bluff or can block Charlotte and just let Charlotte be kingmaker in the final last round.
I knew it was going to end in 3 rounds if I maximum 3 rounds the moment I bluffed. I put my 9 up, right? I was just banking on either Ben not lighting up or Ben lighting up, and then I put my bluff token on him, and then we try and play Bedalia. yeah. And then it goes back to me.
What happens if Ben lights up that round? If all 3 of you lights up, what happens?
Bedalia has to block Charlotte, and then Charlotte is kingmaker between Ben and.
I wonder if
Bedalia.
if Ben can convince Bedalia to block me, though.
Yeah, he can. If
you just said.
If we all lit up, if we all lit up.
Yeah, he's got to block one of the 2 of you.
It's really hard though. I think it's also possible that Charlotte still wins in that situation, because I don't think Bedalia realized that because she was the first player that she had to get blocked or else she would win. And I was really nervous about saying too much, because like if I tell Bedalia, block Charlotte, block Charlotte, block Charlotte, and he does, in that split second, even though Charlotte in like if she had more time would pick me to win, it's entirely possible that in hearing me tell Bedalia, block Charlotte, that she makes just a split second choice of being like, you bitch, here, I'm going to like let Bedalia win. So I felt like it was really hard.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge.
Yeah. I think a lot. Yeah, that's why I said I disagree about the kingmaking, because I think a lot was instinctive in that 3-way situation. I think people were running on instinct, and I think the instinct is why it ended up going that way.
But I disagree. I partly disagree. I think everyone was like fighting to win.
Yeah, totally.
But everyone knew who else they would save, and they would. I don't think they would have been shaken from that. I don't think, based on what Ben and Charlotte have said, they would ever, in any situation, have then thought, "Oh, well, we're going to like help Bedalia win now." I don't know. In that game, in that particular death match, I couldn't have said anything to Ben to like convince him not to pick Charlotte, or Charlotte not, or to not pick Ben. I think
maybe.
And why is that? I'm curious. Why is that? Tell me why.
We had just been working together. Like we had just been working together more recently. And I did feel a little bit annoyed that you went off with Ken. And I felt like you kind of just left me. And I was like, and Charlotte was, even though Charlotte and I didn't necessarily, I feel like we were sort of frenemies in a way.
We had that episode 6.
Yeah.
That was like pretty
Or
key.
can I throw out there, was it partly because you don't think I'm a deserving finalist? Because I don't.
I think
No.
everyone in that like at that table could have had a shot to be a final.
But I don't play
Yeah.
the same game as you do, either of you. I kind of got into that position through a very different route. Obviously,
Yeah, but you still deserve to be there as much as
Yeah.
anyone else. Like you put yourself in a position to be in that final, and you put yourself in a position to nearly win the semi-final.
But don't you
so I
want to see a
think you,
finalist who is like going to give, without knowing what games Ken came up, but like Ken would have played in the final? Would you not have wanted a player who you know would play the same sort of games against Ken?
So I feel like deathmatch on deathmatch, it would have been more interesting to see Ben and Ken, like
Yeah.
based on the deathmatches that had come out, and we knew.
Van
I mean,
Badale yeah.
like rock paper scissors isn't going to come out in the finals, right? Like they're not going to give that much power to the rest of the like. There would be uproar. Like they would. I think Ben would call the adjudicator and be like, "This isn't fair."
Depends who's in the final first. Depends who's in the final.
I mean, even if it was Ben v Ken, like I wonder, yeah, you'd probably say like this isn't fair. You know?
I think the only way I would have won against, like, I mean, Ken in the final, if I made it past the deathmatch, would have been to my power of distraction and persuasion.
We would have loved to see that.
Which did not work before. I'm like, Ken, look, man, just let me win now.
Yeah.
I can distract just as good as anyone. I'd love to see that final.
You know what I really liked? I really liked hearing you say you're going to get into the final anyway, so just help me win. I think that's actually so smart as well. Because you're right. Like, I feel like if Ken was in that three-way deathmatch, he would probably win. And he would be in the final. Yeah.
It could have been anyone's game.
Yeah.
I probably would have figured out fastest how the game works, but I don't know if that would have given me enough lead. Because I would just.
I think that's true. But I think that Charlotte and I would have been more likely to be against you than against
which is not great.
Which is not great in that deathmatch.
But also, when you say figure the game out, like, you mean go 10 to
0, 10, 1, 9, 8, 1, and leave 5 for last. None of you left 5 for last, which is.
But
I
tried to leave 5 for last.
I did try as well.
The problem is what happened.
But you should never fill 5, like ever.
I know.
Yeah.
It was a mistake in that moment.
Even if you roll it, don't do it
leave
because
it to
no
the
one's
end.
going to take
Absolutely.
it off. So you're better off in a position where you just have 5 unrolled.
Yeah,
that's what
a good
Badali
point.
could have done. Yeah. So that's what I would have figured out is just never leave 5 unrolled.
The thing is, I did know this before the game started, and that's why you see me going for 10 twice. Like I am trying to do 0, 10, 1, 9.
You do.
But the problem is
that.
they were like 2v1ing me, which just wasn't going to happen. They were already 3 up. And the issue when I had 5 and 9 is that I rolled a 5. And I was like, I'm gonna bluff 9. I was like, I'm gonna bluff 9. I'm gonna bluff 9 no matter what. But I rolled a 5, and the issue was, I was required to show both dice if I had bluffed, right? At the 9, and then you guys would have seen me roll a 5, and then you guys would have realized what I was doing. So that would have given the whole strategy away, and that's why I hesitated in that moment. And I was like, I can't show this, like, but they'll need me to show both dice, and they'll be like, why the heck did she not say 5 when she had 5? Why does she bluff 9?
I think it depends if they stop you. If they stop you on 9,
they stopped me on 5. Like Bedalia stopped me. I was like, they're gonna stop me, and that's why I can't bluff.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I think what was also key was that there was a while where people were trying to roll the natural 8s and 9s. I think that slowed it down.
It's also harder than it looks though to know like when to bluff when you're down to just 1, because it's all about timing. Because if everyone runs out of tokens and you have more than 1 number left, you're screwed. You have no chance of winning.
That's true.
Unless you're down to 1 number really early, then it's hard to know when the right time to bluff is.
That's true. I think it would be interesting if someone just didn't use their tokens ever. Because if you just never use the tokens, what happens?
Someone was like, throw them all on the ground.
Yeah.
That's
like,
what Ben did.
Because you were in a situation where Ben had 3, Charlotte had 2, and Badai had 1 or something. But if you just stood fast and said, I'm not using my tokens until the very last moment where I have to use one, because a lot of people blew their tokens early, it would have been such a weird attrition game.
Oh, what a game it was.
Yeah.
Good game.
Right, guys, I'm gonna have to shoot off now.
Me too.
The 4 finalists for the semi-finalists and finalists.
Thanks, Scott.
It's been great to speak all.
Bye, Scott.
If you can, like, I'm not sure what it looks like when you leave, but if you can go to like the StreamYard homepage or something, I think it keeps uploading.
It just keeps uploading. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Perfect. No worries. Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks.
Fun.
See you, Scott.
See ya.
See you, Scott.
I'm gonna head off now. I made like 8 enchiladas, and most of them are in the oven still.
Wow.
I quickly ate. I set myself about a 40-minute timer to make them before this. It took me an hour because I couldn't figure some stuff out. I needed an extra fry pan. I tried to put too much in one fry pan, so it was being too slow to cook. Anyway, they're all in my oven. I've got to tidy up my kitchen. So that's the rest of my evening.
Right.
That's
Enjoy
amazing.
your enchiladas.
Enjoy that.
One.
Thank you. Well, thanks for sorting this, Ben.
Yeah.
No, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Fun.
Should I stop the recording then?
Yeah. Let's. You can say goodbye to people.
Final 4, guys.
Bye, people.
Bye.
Yeah, you're left with the final 4 again.
Here we are. Let's play a game. Let's play medium moguls.
No.
Round 2, 3, and 4 again. Let's get some checks in, and then do a dice inception. Rerun that final.
I still have my blank checks in my binder.
Oh, do you? I didn't take anything.
Yeah.
I wish I took something.
I've got my calculations that were wrong.
Oh,
I was still trying to figure them out.
yeah, because Ben did all the maths and stuff. Like everyone was doing the maths for me. The binder, the famed binder. You can sell that on eBay.
I have my daily affirmation too. I wrote in the hotel this affirmation that I would say in my dressing room before we did every game.
That's your ritual. You didn't tell Bedalia.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing I wanted to hear.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to like interrupt people, but it has a bunch of lies. Like, for example, I am friendly and nice.
That's lovely.
Here's my checks.
Oh,
wow.
You have them.
You didn't cash them. You didn't cash them.
I cashed all my checks.
I didn't cash all mine, I don't think. I didn't cash any more on TV.
Oh, wait, yeah. Where's my TV ones?
Don't know. Just left them. I left them.
I want my water bottle.
Oh,
Me
I
too.
know.
Yeah.
I
We
want
never got our
every.
water
Did you stop recording? We're still recording.
No, do you want me to stop?
No, that's okay. I don't know if we had let's say something very nice to end the video.
Thank you so much to. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it, Charlotte.
No, you can.
I was gonna say I think obviously like winning was great. Like obviously that was a cool thing to happen. But I think, and I'm not gonna downplay that. Like but I do think one of the greatest things about the show is just this group, the whole 11 of us, the way we still hang out, we talk to each other, we play games, we see each other here and there. I think it's just such an amazing group, and like I think that just justifies all of it. Even if I hadn't won, I would feel like a massive winner, because I think all the experiences we're going to have as a group going forward in the future, doing other stuff, is going to be great. And I really grateful, really appreciative of all you guys, and I just want to say thank you for still being in my life.
I agree. I'll see you in the Big Brother house.
Big Brother house. Oh my god.
Bedalia, you next.
Oh, me next. Where do I even begin? Honestly, one of the most special experiences. I think the beauty of the casting is that even though we've evolved into becoming friends, it's that we all have different traits. We all lead into different areas of personality, but we're all comfortable in challenging each other's thoughts quite openly to get their perspective. And I think that's quite cool. I could quite easily ask Ben, so what would you have done in this scenario, but why? Why not me for this? I really enjoy that because it's just a level of feedback you wouldn't get every day from just general people in your life. It's a very special group of different traits. Thank you.
Sweet.
Okay, you, Charlotte.
Well, let's go.
I think I mean, like Ken said, this group of people and what Bedalia said, like the group of people really just makes it. I think what's gone under the radar as well is how well production have helped us through this whole the whole scenario. The chats that we had with the mental health, like you gave me the name of it, Ken, and I just can't remember the name of it. But you know,
Charlotte.
yeah, no, Charlotte. Oh, yeah, Charlotte.
Not this Charlotte. Not this Charlotte.
Yeah. And I don't know, like they would always check that you were okay. Hair and makeup, Jackie, Nikki, like everyone was so nice. Wardrobe, Susie, like catering for everything that you basically needed. I don't know, like there was such like a good support system. I just remember this one thing that was happening, and it was like I needed to go to the toilet, and it was raining, and Becca held the umbrella, and she would only cover me. And I was like, no, we're going together. But she would still only cover me. And I was like, I'm not gonna pee if you don't get under this umbrella with me. And that was just like the kind. And I was just like, this. They treat us like we're TV stars or whatever, because they, you know, like. but it was just so wholesome. I just thought I was always surrounded by really nice people, and I didn't want to leave. And if I could, I would have stayed there like forever, playing games made by really great people, with a really good support system. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Ben?
No, I agree. I've had my chance to say my piece on my YouTube channel and everything, but I think it's really nice that you guys are willing to put up with me in real life and give me a chance in real life, especially people like Ken, who saw my uglier sides playing games. Like,
I'm biding my time.
No, it's such a cool experience, and I'm really glad we all still get to talk and hang out sometimes. So yeah, lots of love to everyone. Okay, thank you everyone for watching our little reunion, and I'm going to end the recording. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.